Good evening. This is John Warren, publisher of the San Diego Voice and Viewpoint newspaper, coming to you with our program From the Desk of the Editor. We always like to remind you that the Voice and Viewpoint is San Diego's oldest and now only African American publication, available in 89 zip code, 17 cities, unincorporated areas of the county. Also available online at no cost. You may download our app, or you may subscribe to the paper or find it in retail outlets and newsstands throughout the county. The Voice and Viewpoint has a slogan that a people without a voice cannot be heard, and it is our job to serve San Diego's African and African American communities. So we come to you this evening with an open mic scenario, and we have some very exciting guests with us, and we are looking forward to a great discussion. You may join us at godradio1.com, or if you wish to call in, you can do so at 858-251-6111. So, Dr. Thompson, I'll hand the mic over to you as you say hello and bring our guests on board.
Well, good evening, everyone. It is the day that we are so excited about. It's midweek, and we're doing a tremendous amount of work here at GOD Radio. We're so excited with the Desk of the Editor. So much is going on. I know that tonight we're going to be talking about the town hall that's going to be taking place on tomorrow, which we're very, very excited about. But before then, there is voices that are crying out in the wilderness, saying that theater is back in the city of San Diego. They're not only doing it in our local theaters, but they are spreading out and making connections throughout the city. And what I love about it is, I won't call it black theater, but I will call it good theater. And there is a play that has been curated and connected with the Common Ground Theater. The play is called Stew by Zora Howard. And it's directed by, the three names. You said, when you say it, there's three names. There is Yolanda Marie Franklin.
Yeah.
You said it, Dr. Warren. People with three names, that they important.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so tonight we have a great group with us. We have none other than two people that are heavily involved with the play. And I'm going to pitch it over to Ms. Franklin to introduce her special guest that has come with her this evening.
Okay. Thank you so much, Leonard. We have Faraha Saba, and I'll let her tell you about the company that she founded and also what she does for Grossmont College.
Well, thank you, Yolanda. It's so great to be here with you all, be in person. I am on the faculty at Grossmont Community College, where I teach a course in interpersonal communication. I wrote a textbook in this area, and so I teach my online class in that subject. And then in my spare time, I have a nonprofit organization entitled SECA, Soulful Educational Experience of Culture and Art. And we produce in-person and online activities, educational and cultural activities. I wanted to have a format that I could produce things that were outside of school or outside of some organization. So one of the things that we feature in that with SECA is a meaningful conversation about race. And so we've been able to facilitate about 15 conversations with, people of various backgrounds. So that's who I am.
Okay.
And what's interesting about this is with Stu, we have Talkback Fridays, and I thought that you were an excellent person to bring on to be part of the talkbacks that we're having after this show to give this audience your voice from your perspective. So thank you. Thank you for being there.
Well, we're excited to have both of you here. Of course, we've tried very hard, Dr. Thompson here with GOD Radio 1, Voice and Viewpoint, to promote this production and make people aware of it. It's being held on the Alliant University campus at the Script Ranch Theater. Mm-hmm. And that's very significant in itself because Common Ground Theater has historically been housed at ECC. Yes. And it's always very dear to me because it was the a heartthrob of the late Dr. Dorothy Smith. And Dorothy Smith was one of those people that loved theater. We were often at theater together at Old Globe and at different events. And so, as far as I was concerned, when it came to Common Ground, as I still try to say, your money is no good when it comes to Voice and Viewpoint. We're committed to promoting Common Ground in any way that we possibly can. And I think the theater is something that we have to get back to as a community. We've had a history of some great parts. In San Diego, we have a history of some great people who are no longer with us, who did a lot for theater. Floyd Gaffney, for instance, I remember in terms of what he did, and his daughter was very involved in, I think it was his daughter afterwards.
Monique.
Monique.
Gaffney.
Yeah, Monique. Yeah, she was very involved with the theater that was up on El Cajon, small community theater, and some of us from back east are used to small community theater, and so it's really special. And a lot of the people that we see in big life on the stage started out in small. I remember James Earl Jones before he did. I forget the piece. The Great Black Hope. Was it?
Oh, I know the piece.
What? Yeah.
Don't test our
The
memory.
Great White Hope. The
Yeah,
Great White Hope.
Yeah.
The Great White Hope. I'm
He
sorry.
hit a block.
Yeah, I had a block there for a moment. The Great White Hope started at theater in D.C. in Southwest Washington, and he performed there long before it went to Broadway. And so a lot of talent, and some people from here, theater in recent years, have gone to D.C. to be in theater there. So theater is still big. Some of our favorite people, stars, got their start in terms of theater. People like Lawrence Fishburne, who's a Shakespearean actor by trade and profession.
Denzel.
Huh?
Denzel Washington.
Denzel as well. And, they're all in the mode of Ira Aldridge. When Ira Aldridge did Othello in Russia many, many decades ago, it said that when he got to the point where, she was killed, that this Russian in the front row had a heart attack because he thought this black man had actually killed this woman on set. And so we're just excited in terms of theater. And I want to salute you, Ms. Franklin, for your outstanding work and commitment. Now, to say at the Stew, if you haven't seen the Stew, you still have a chance to see it. It's one of those pieces that you really got to sit and focus on in terms of following it. It takes place in the kitchen, and you got like 3 generations of black women there, and the people who are performing do such an outstanding job in terms of the roles and the way they play, and it has to be difficult when you're doing that to a small audience that's so close to you in terms of the stage. I mean, we've seen productions at Old Globe where there was a small, in the round, but nothing like this theater, which is so much smaller.
So intimate.
And
Right?
that's the word I'm looking for, intimate. And yet it holds you. It's 90 minutes. There's no intermission. The changes are done very eloquently in terms of it.
Thank
You don't have
you.
to change the set.
Thank you.
Just the breaks and going from
Transitions.
the transition from one act to another is done so very well. And so I'm hoping that, Ms. Franklin, you can say what it looks like going forward because you were sharing some of the people that are going to be coming, because Scripps Ranch is not ECC, and so that means that a lot of people have to come outside of the community to go to see this production.
Right.
And of course that's good because they should get out more often anyhow. And so this is say a word about
So-
how you're going with
So,
this.
so what we're doing is we're bringing some of our community partners, and Fourth District, Stevens Senior Resource Center are valued partners that we collaborate with. And so what we've done is we reduced their price, their admission price, and we're also going to pay for a free bus load of 40 audience members from there to to come up and see the show from the community. We thought it was important because just because we're going outside of the community, we don't want to not include anyone from the community. We want to keep it going. Black Nativity was so successful, and people were like, what are you doing next? Well, what we're doing next is at Scripps Ranch, but we want to take our folks with us. So,
Well, this is important too that you went to the 4th District Senior Resource Center, because it's probably one of the best kept secrets, the interest that senior community has in theater. They partner very strongly with Old Globe, and the Old Globe is very much invested in the activities that are done there, the productions, the involvement of them. So it's good that that's taking place. So say a word about what you expect is this weekend, or the
Okay.
remaining productions, attendance, what's sold out, what's still available.
Oh, okay. I think now if people are going to get tickets, then Saturday night would be their best bet, because Sunday, a matinee at 2 p.m. has maybe 4 or 5 seats available online. So we don't even know what people are going to do if they come to the door to buy tickets. And then Friday is a special night, Friday Talkbacks. This Friday, we're going to have Dr. Michelle Thompson from Mandate Records. She's also goes by Evangel. She's a singer. She works here, and she produces God Radio. And also, we're going to have from Greater Life Baptist Church, the First Lady, Zakina Stewart. She's coming, and I picked those two ladies because they're mothers, and they can give a voice to speaking from that perspective, and they've been daughters and they're sisters, So that is selling out because people want to hear from First Lady Zakina, and of course our beautiful Evangel.
Well, when you talk about the talkback, so that people know, many times after productions, there are discussions in terms of the parts and the characters and how well people played the parts and what they did. I'm very curious, since I couldn't stay for the talkback Friday, about what some of the discussion was, because we won't do any spoiler stuff, but
Okay.
there are elements to the play that can leave you in some great thought. And
Absolutely.
so I'm just, can you say a word about what kind of
Yes.
feedback you got without
Oh.
giving away anything?
Yes,
Yeah.
we actually have some audience members that are returning because they didn't get to speak at the
Okay.
first talkback, at your
Okay.
talkback. So they came back
Okay.
to last Friday's talkback was with Chida Warren, and then also Dee Sanford. Dee
yes,
Sanford.
right.
So what we ask is we ask who you relate to, which character in the show, because there's 3 different generations. And then also, what was your takeaway? What was your takeaway? And for the actors, what do they want the audience to leave with? And I mean, it just goes, it's a wonderful conversation.
Well, I think people appreciate the opportunity to share what, and to ask questions about things that they may not have understood. But also, Yolanda, I wanted to point out or say that I really appreciate the work that you're doing, not only because of the acting, but that in this show, which had various dimensions of intimacy, all the elements that came together, in my viewing, for the quality of the presentations, the lights, the sound, the set, the closeness of the audience, the skill of the actors, the lights and sounds and so forth. And so I think that's something to be noted. It's not something to take for granted, because it's not just, you wake up and you got a show. This is,
Right. Thank you. Thank you for
There's a
saying
lot.
that.
There's a lot involved in the process. And for the content, the interactions among the that was something that fascinated me about this show, is the way the actors interact with each other, and the degree of tension and yet calmness that is
Thank you.
present.
Thank you for
Well,
that.
I would be curious, Dr. Thompson, not to leave you out of it, but I would be curious to know how you selected Zora Howard's work for this
Oh,
because it's such an unusual. It's an unusual play from my standpoint, and then to get people. I know there was some challenges in terms of it, get people
right,
for the particular parts.
right.
How did you what motivated you to select that?
Okay. So I was part of a script reading group with Scripps Ranch. And Marty Goebel, who was part of Scripps Ranch also, the young lady who plays Mama, well, the grown woman who plays
Yeah.
Mama. What they don't know is that Zora Howard started here with the piece at UCSD. And I
didn't know that.
and I was part of her first group of actors that did the read through of her piece, and I played Mama.
Oh,
So
okay.
that happened, and it was full circle because they asked me to direct, and we had selected Stu. They kept trying to get the rights to it, and it was perfect because we were either going to do it there or I was taking it back to Common Ground. So
Okay.
that's how it happened. And then the search for the right actor, having the right actor playing those specific roles. When you see this show, you will think, oh my gosh, they're so much like the character. They embody in the nuances that the ladies portray with. Yes, you want to say something?
Well, I'm thinking that this play not only has the script itself is an outstanding script,
Yeah.
you know, Pulitzer
Yeah.
Prize and so forth. But it has a lot of nonverbal elements to it. There's a lot of things that are not said, and I think that enhances the experience because it leaves you, gives you the opportunity to explore within your own self. You know.
Thank you for saying that. I just have to say this about Zora Howard. That's just the brilliance of her with this. She gives everyone a lot of room for your imagination to come up with things. She writes it plainly on the paper, on the sheet, but there's still gaps for you to fill in as an audience member, as an actor, as a director, as a lighting design, as a sound design. So thank you. It really did. come
Well,
together.
I think just this comment I want to make as I watched the production. There's a whole hidden piece there that goes to domestic violence, I believe, and how it from my observation as a publisher and father and all, and I'm sure my daughter spoke to some of this too. Some of the things that women go through that men don't understand. So while I'm watching the play, I'm thinking, as I'm picking up on some things that are happening, I'm thinking that the men in the audience are really missing what's being said.
Excellent.
Okay, all right.
Okay, because there was a talk back where I think it was after your talk back. After everyone left, I said, "This is it. We have a crystal ball for you to, or a veil for people to pull back."
Right.
Men in particular, to go and see the show and to say, "Oh, you know, everyone," and it doesn't matter about race. The human race should see this, and you're privy to conversations. And I know what you're talking about with the relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I mean,
It's
I
nice. Well, I don't
say
want to give
more if
away
it was over,
anything.
right.
So
Yes, no,
yeah.
yeah.
all I'm doing is registering that I saw behind the veil
Yeah.
Right.
in terms of what was
Yes.
there, and I thought it was important.
I think Leonard's coming Friday. Right?
Yes, I'll be there
Okay,
Friday.
great.
Yeah, okay, and that should maybe he and I'll have a post-mortem next week and talk about what's behind the veil.
Yes.
We'll see.
Because what's behind the veil is significant.
Yes, it's very, very
Yes,
significant.
yes, and
Okay.
some missed opportunities. My takeaway for everyone was that don't miss opportunities to communicate in your own house.
Okay.
To have the conversations.
To
the
have
conversations
conversations.
between men and women, the conversations between men,
Mothers and daughters,
sisters,
sisters.
Okay.
that
So-
whole dynamic.
So I kind of want to jump in and ask some questions. Not trying to be funny or anything, but I'm gonna ask it again. What type of stew was it?
Oh, beef stew.
Did it have neck bones in it? Or?
No. Okay. The neck bones were for the collard greens that were going to be cooked.
Oh, okay.
So, okay, the neck bones weren't in the stew.
But the neck bones are an important element
Yeah.
Yes.
to the
Okay, so-
preparation of this meal.
You know, because
Yeah.
if they're gonna cook a meal, we just want to know what was on the table.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second of all, can you tell me who Venus Adams is?
Venus Adams she's my cousin.
Okay.
She's a designer, and she's a clothing designer.
Okay. Because she jumped on the thing, and I'm like saying she looks like an actress and everything else. So I didn't know if she was one of the people acting in the play or whatever. 'cause I
No,
got
she's
so
my
many-
cousin. She's just trying to show it.
She just trying to show support.
Yes.
Oh.
Hello,
Okay.
Venus. How you doing?
From
Thank
Los
Oh, hi,
Angeles.
Venus.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I was trying to put two
Okay.
and two together. I texted you. I said, do we got one of the actors on here? Yeah, I had to ask the question. You know, we're a dynamic show. And, you know, people come on all the time. Will Downing, that's how we met Will Downing. Is he just came on the show one day. And it's like,
Yeah.
Will, is that you? He said, it sure is. So tell me, you know, Miss Franklin, you're talking about the play, but you haven't mentioned anything about this wonderful cast. I need to know names and,
Oh.
and how we can, you know, I want to get excited about them.
Oh, please get excited about them. I'll start with Little Mama. Jamelia.
Is she really little?
In size.
Or is she just bad?
That's just her nickname.
Okay, that's
Okay, that's her nickname.
She's the youngest, and she's a teenager. And Jamelia Hines, she actually came from the musical theater world. She was a dancer. This is actually her first production because she wanted to express herself in a different way and not just with her body. So she is amazing.
Y'all, her body through dance, she wanted to do more
Yes.
than that. Okay.
Those are her words, actually. And then Nellie, who is a 17-year-old in this, Jody Marks, she comes from Los Angeles, California. And then we have Danielle Bunch, who's playing Lillian. She is a local talent. She works with a marketing agency, and she just really needs to do this full time. She just everyone is just so wonderful in their roles. And then we have our matriarch, Marty Goebel, who is an equity actor that we brought in, and she's playing Mama. And it's just a fantastic. They're it's such a nice family. You know, I feel like they're my babies.
Well, the characters are all females, but there's an important and a dynamic male presence
Yes.
in this
And
play that's not
That goes through the whole thing.
scripted, and it goes through all the way. I think it's important.
That's why
Just
it's a
to
show
make-
for everyone.
It is
It's
a
a show
family
for the
show.
family.
So basically, word on the street is that you're going to laugh, you're going to cry, you're going to start having inner searching and what things you need to do right and what things you might have could have did better. And then after all that is, a word on the street is that people continue to talk these conversations on in their communities and their homes, and that they want more.
Yes. Yes.
See?
Yes. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
There you
Working
They-
on it,
Oh,
giving more.
Yes. Yes. We have our next event is going to be Uplifting Black Voices. It's a short play series that focuses on 7 different aspects of the African American experience, and it will be with the Old Globe. We're doing a 2-week residency at the Old Globe, and then we're back home at ECC.
So one of the things I think that is really amazing is that there are major theater, African American theaters around the country, but Common Ground Theater is one of 3 of the longest standing African American theater companies in the country. And it's so good to see not it being resurrected, but the efforts to be continued forth and continued on. I think that it's very important that we gather around it and rally behind it, especially in this time in this season. Kudos to the San Diego Voice and Viewpoint that basically said, we will partner with you. This is what makes our community what it is that when we see the need to work together. And so you have the storyteller working with the storytellers and bringing things to life. And I think that that is to be commended. So kudos to the San Diego Voice and Viewpoint for coming alongside the Common Ground Theater. Kudos to the Common Ground Theater for wanting to partner with other people beyond just the community, but saying that we are a worldwide organization where our original destination, our location is in southeastern San Diego, but we're planning to impact the world. And not only are locals acting in Common Ground Theater, but what we're seeing is that people are coming from all over the world to be a part of this theater. So congratulations to you with full name, Yolanda Marie Franklin. You see, Doc, she got 3 names.
I know.
She's
And
got 3
the
names.
3-name thing, right? And I want to say just before you go, as we end this session, that we're going to continue to do e-blasts in terms of making people aware. But it would be helpful if you find out that everything is all sold out, then just let us know so we can pull it.
Yes,
Because we don't
yes.
want to keep on. And some people they won't try to call. They'll drive out there. They'll be mad that they got
true.
there. And
That's true.
it's not big enough to give them any standing room. So
Right.
it'll be very significant. But we thank you for coming on
Thank you.
with us, and we
Thank
appreciate
you for
it.
having us.
Well, with that being said, we're going to take a quick commercial break and we're going to change over. We're going to come back and talk about our town hall meeting that is coming up. It's about Stop the Hate and having real conversations right here on GODRadio1.com.
The San Diego Voice and Viewpoint newspaper is San Diego's oldest and largest African American publication. We bring you news for and about our community. Your stories matter to us. Thank you for allowing us to serve you for nearly 6 decades. Your support enables us to continue to forge ahead, informing you with news tailored to your needs. In addition to subscribing to our weekly publication, consider using Voice and Viewpoint to promote your business and events. Call us at 619-266-2233 or send an email to ads@sdvoice.info for details on how to get started. If you have advertising needs, contact us. Our prices are both fair and reasonable. Follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Voice and Viewpoint or visit our website at www.sdvoice.info. Remember, a people without a voice cannot be heard.
Well, thank you so much. We are back right here from the desk of the editor with Dr. John Warren. Great interview with Common Ground Theater. It is a theater that you have been supporting for quite some time, and it is a theater that we need to continue to support as they continue to bring great opportunities for actors and actresses, and then also just to have real conversations. So congratulations to you, sir.
Well, thank you, Dr. Thompson, for helping us, because you've met with them and you've had them on here on GOD Radio. And so this is just a part of our team effort to do as much as we can. As we shift gears, we have coming up tomorrow night a very important event here, and it's called a town hall meeting. And the theme of this meeting is hate in communities of color. And so you'll see ads in the paper, online. It's going to be at the George Stevens Senior Resource Center from 6 to 8 p.m. tomorrow. And a town hall meeting is going to be different in the sense that members of various ethnic communities in San Diego have been invited to be there and participate. The African American community, the Asian community, the Burmese, Somali. We've just tried to reach out immigrants. And so we've tried very much to bring out a number of people. This is a continuation of something that we did last year, where we did at least, was it 1 or 2 webinars, Dr. Thompson, where we had the district attorney in.
Yeah, I believe that we did 2 last year.
2, yeah. And this was before we moved, before you changed location. And we, a lot of people got excited about hate crimes when things happened like the the murders in Atlanta of the workers at the three spars, or the elderly Asian people that were being attacked on the street. But statistically, African Americans are still the largest victims of hate crimes in the country and in the state. And so many people don't report the encounters. And so what we try to do is help people understand what hate crime is. And here in San Diego County, we had last year, I think it was, and the year before, we had two major incidents. We had one in Lakeside where a teenage girl stabbed an African American girl, and her parents stood by and watched the attack. I believe, in addition to actions being taken with her as a juvenile, that charges were brought against the parents, pretty much like the situation that happened where in the Midwest, where the parents had bought the young man an AK-47, and he was a high school student and went out and killed a classmate, and both parents were charged with the murder that took place in that case. So what we're going to be talking about is the experiences that people have. Do you feel you've experienced a hate crime? Is there a difference between discrimination and a hate crime, or is discrimination itself a hate crime? Okay, because many people have experiences that don't amount to physical name calling, but yet they're treated in a certain way. And so we know that we have a First Amendment issue that comes together in terms of what people can say and how they can speak. And so this meeting is going to be a open mic meeting where we're going to have microphones in the aisles, and we're going to invite people to come up and express themselves in terms of whatever their thoughts are. It's not some pre-scripted, preordained scenario, and we don't want people writing little cards and somebody reading cards off. The only reason that we will have some people there in the front from the different communities at a table is because they will be the comfort zone for some of the members of their community who otherwise might not be comfortable coming into a setting where they don't see a familiar face or somebody that looks like them. So we try to anticipate those elements. And Dr. Thompson, you're doing a project as well that involves Stop the Hate. And so we're trying to get our community to understand how serious this whole thing is and how significant. We already did a Biscuit, Grits, and Politics breakfast. What was it, last October?
I believe so.
I believe that we dealt with this issue, and the issue has not gone away. All you have to do is check the Attorney General and the District Attorney's records, and they can share with you that these are ongoing problems.
I think that the significance of this town hall meeting is that it is going to be a fact-finding and a gathering of information. A lot of times people feel like they're in an island or island of themselves. Things are happening and they don't think anybody understands or anybody hears or anybody even cares. And I think that and I know that the design of this town hall meeting is not that we're going to find all the solutions. The design of this town hall meeting is to gather the information, to hear what's going on, what's being impacted, how people are feeling. And then as you pull from a town hall that information and you gather that information, then you can tailor responses and reactions and support based on what you're gathering. So tomorrow is not a time where we're going to attack one another or even be comparing that black people are being treated worse than maybe Asian people. Basically, hate is hate. Now, for African Americans, we are the higher that are discriminated against, higher
Yes.
that receive hate crimes. That is statistical fact. We don't have to argue that. You
No.
know, because we already know that that's it. So we still have to then say, and how do we assist African Americans? How do we assist to change it around? But while we're doing that, we're asking the same question for the Asian population and the Latino population and the LGBTQ population. Everybody has experienced some things, some less, some more. Some is not reported, or they don't know how to report it, or they might have reported but reported to the wrong area, so it's never being documented. So this is an opportunity for us to have a real conversation, but also for an educational piece, for our eyes to be open to realize that even though we live in sunny California, there's still discrimination and prejudice and hate going forth even in our community.
Well, Dr. Thompson, we want to remind people in this segment that if you have a question or comment, you can call in at 858-251-6111, because this is the open mic portion, or you may go to godradio1.com. And so we want people to know, as he says, that this idea is to reach out to communities. You know, we've spent a lot of time trying to involve both the Arabic community, and we've reached out to the Jewish community in terms of, especially with what's going on in Gaza, getting people into this discussion without the pain and emotion that goes with the atrocities that are taking place in Gaza, because there's nothing short of genocide in terms of what's going on. At the same time, we have issues here in terms of the universities, where even today, President of Columbia was on the hot seat with the congressional committee that's been looking at this whole outpouring of anti-Jewish speech and action on the part of the Palestinian community. And many times it seems one-sided. We have people here writing letters and asking, questioning the safety of Jewish students. And then we have a strong Palestinian matter. This is significant, Dr. Thompson, that today the USC valedictorian, who is pro-Palestinian, had her valedictory speech canceled as a part of the graduation exercise because of concern about safety in terms of the issues that are coming out here. And so this is it's a very strong and emotional scenario, and we're not coming together to argue the Jewish-Palestinian question. We're coming together to talk about the issues themselves. And then we have communities that have been lumped together, and I think the African-American community in particular needs to understand the communities that we're dealing with. Some of the communities right now that are being victims of hate crimes were communities that in their own right were racist and hate-oriented toward African Americans before they got their chance to be on the block. And so we saw issues that we will not forget. The situation in Los Angeles where the Korean shop owner killed the young black girl over orange soda. And we don't forget the issues we had in San Diego with FAMMARK, with the conflicts that we had in terms of the marketplace. And so all of these things are real. And San Diego, in the state of California, is perhaps the greatest melting pot in the country of all of these communities that come together. And we need to understand that when we say API, that we can't lump everybody into that. We have concerns from the Burmese, the Vietnamese, the Chinese, the Filipino, the Vietnamese. We have all of these communities that have specific identities here. On the African side, we have Ethiopian, Eritrean, Somali, North and South Sudanese, Ghana. We just have a lot going on. And so we need to be able to have some discussion so that we can at least talk to each other and be of some help to each other. None of what I just said even embrace the level of issues we have with the immigrant community. And we've had special issues with the Haitian community that was given status to come here after the big earthquake and then found themselves waiting in Tijuana for 2 years to get visa permission to come into the country, while the war with Russia and Ukraine broke out, and Ukrainians will march right on past them into the country ahead of them with special status and privilege. And so all of this is stuff that we need to be concerned about because it concerns all of us.
Well, and also I think that it's very important for us to understand, or what they say, the color of hate, the division of hate, and also what is justified as a hate crime. You know what I'm saying? What is hate? What is prejudice? What is racism? You know, I think that all of those things that need to be discussed, because you have to be very mindful. Now, I believe personally that it's very hard for people of color to be racist I believe that you have to have the power to enforce racism to be able to be racist. And so whoever has the power to enforce discriminatory laws or things of that nature can have the power to be racist. I believe you can be prejudiced, but to be racist means that you have the power to actually enforce your belief system. You feel
Well,
what I'm
see,
saying?
that's a very important observation you're making, Dr. Thompson, because that's some of the kind of thing that has to come out tomorrow night in our discussion, because people will leave there with a new definition as opposed to just old stereotypes of what's taking place. It doesn't mean that anything we say is to excuse the behavior that we're concerned about, but it's to help us identify it. You know, San Diego County, going back to the 80s when Congress was really stepping up its concerns over hate crimes, law enforcement here and in many parts of the country did not want to document things that were hate crimes because they didn't want to make the reports. And so we had all kind of atrocities that took place, like the black man in Texas who was on his way home, minding his own business. And the white kids grabbed him and drug him behind the truck until his body came apart and killed him and did all kinds of things. I mean, these issues have been ongoing. And part of it is that people who hate have a tendency to dehumanize the victims to justify the hate. And so that's why we say hate in communities of color, because we have some hatred within our communities of color, and we need to deal with that as well.
Well, that's the one thing that I was going to ask the question. If I'm an African American, can I do a hate crime against another African American? Would it be considered a hate crime if it was me against another African American?
Well, I think from the legal standpoint, they have looked at it that there are some elements there, and I could be wrong because I don't have an instant recall with all of this. But I think that if you are African American, that I don't think you can be guilty of a hate crime against another African American.
Okay.
You can be guilty of a crime because you can assault someone by words just in terms of putting them in fear of their physical safety. That's the definition of assault. You don't have to engage in a battery, which is the unauthorized touching of the person of another. And so, yes, we can do that, and people can be harmed and can be brought to emotional distress without hatred being put into the picture. But hate came into the picture because the hate was based on identification of color or membership in a particular group, and that in itself became the basis for disliking and acting against someone that you didn't even know.
Yeah. And the reason why I ask that is because you can ask the question because there is an ongoing conversation between dark-skinned and light-skinned people, what they call the house Negro and the field Negro. So could the house Negro create a hate crime against the field Negro? Or then on the other hand, if I'm an African-American and I do something hateful to maybe a homeless person, just because he's African-American and I'm African-American, can it still be considered a hate crime? Because now, although we're the same ethnic group, I'm now hating on him because of his status as a unsheltered resident.
But see, the key difference here is that the person, the object of the hate, almost by definition, has to be of a different color or ethnicity
Okay.
from the person who's doing the hating.
Okay.
If that's present, then you can have a hate crime. If that's not present, you can still have a crime because so much of the conduct that I just alluded to can fall under that definition.
Okay. And so I think that this is the reason why we have town halls, so that we can begin to educate ourselves more. Now, one of the things that I applaud the San Diego Voice and Viewpoint is that they're focusing on recording tomorrow so that eventually they will be able to give it out and have an edited version so that you guys can, other people can continue to follow back up and follow back on how we educate our community. The purpose of tomorrow is the gathering. And I want to say this again. It is the gathering. It's the gathering of different cultural groups and different people to get on one accord. And I think that a lot of times we have a lot to say. A lot of times we might be angry, but most of the time we don't get involved and we're unaware.
Well,
So now's the opportunity for us to start being involved and aware.
Well, and also, Dr. Thompson, you opened the door that this is part of an ongoing series. We're going to have another town hall meeting on May 23rd, and this one is going to be at the Live Well Center. We're also going to have we're planning right now Biscuit Grits and Politics for Tuesday, May 7th. And that breakfast meeting is going to deal with ongoing issues within this topic. But what's going to be unique about this one is that it's going to be limited to 100 people, and it's going to be free to the first 100 people that sign up. So there won't be any cost involved. That way, there's no excuse for not coming or participating in it. And so we are still doing articles, and we're going to have discussion on this program in terms of this issue and the different communities, because we were doing this 20 years ago. You and I, we were bringing together the African communities because we had conflicts between Africans and African Americans. Some of those conflicts, you mentioned people of color looking alike, and so that gets to be a interesting issue with the immigrant community. But in the case of the conflict we had, most of it was because we had different spiritual bases. The African Americans were predominantly Christian, and the Africans that were in the Somali community and other communities, many of them were Muslim. And so they didn't automatically come together. And we just came through a unique period last month where we had Ramadan because of the lunar calendar intersect with Lent. And so we did a session here in terms of talking about the principles between the two things that come together. And that's just an ongoing part of our desire to heal and build and bring people together.
Amen. And one of the things that we want to say is that this is necessary in this time and in this season. We are in a season where there's a desire for civil war. There's a desire for us to go back hundreds of years, and we're consistently seeing old laws coming back and being supported from the civil rights era, and literally more and more we're losing sight of the betterment of us being what they quote unquote call a melting pot, a place where we should come and be accepted for who we are and grow. We're still seeing that people want to go back to the old Jim Crow era, and we have to be very vigilant, not just the more seasoned people, but our young people. Our young people, we have to re-engage them and help them. So I'm encouraging on tomorrow night for all parents to bring your young people out, encouraging young adults, different groups to come out and have real conversation. And here's the thing, ask questions. If there's certain things that you don't know, ask questions. That is how I've learned so many of the cultural groups that we have in our wonderful city, is that I asked questions. I asked about their food. I asked about their attire. I asked about their language. I asked about protocol. There's some cultures that they're not supposed to look you in the eye. There are some cultures that the women don't shake men's hand.
No.
So you have to learn that and then be respectful to that, so it doesn't seem like you are disrespecting or are looking at them as insignificant, but you're taking the time to get to know who you are around.
And it is so important to do all of the things that you just said, Dr. Thompson. So we hope that people will come out tomorrow night, and we're going to be continuing to do e-blast tomorrow all day for it. It's a 2-hour window. It's going to be a peaceful gathering. It's going to be an informative gathering, and everybody's going to be welcome. And we're going to try to have people speak with an understanding that other people have something to say, so that we don't want to have to say you got 2 minutes or 3. We want you to be, that's the humanity that we're building, that you show a consciousness, that you are sharing a podium or a forum with other people. And so you give your comments, and then you step back and let others come forth and do the same.
And one of the things that I want to celebrate the San Diego Voice and Viewpoint is the consistent opportunity that you give to youth and young adults, and adults in general, to be able to be a part of the story, giving adults in general to write a letter to the editor, and it's reviewed, and many times they're published. These are opportunities for people to have real conversations, but also let your concerns and your voice be heard. So please know that let's engage and let's use the tools that we have to make sure that we can continue to grow the educational mindset of our community. This, it says in the Bible, it says the people perish without a vision.
Yes.
But they also say if you ever want to hide something from the people, put it in
Put
the
it in a
pages of
book.
the book. So we want to then become more educated. We want to become more vigilant so that we don't have people walk up and take us over because of the fact that we just were unaware and unengaged.
Yes. And so, I want to say that the staff of the Voice and Viewpoint reflects the diversity that we're talking about. Our staff is African American, it's Caucasian, it's Korean, it's Latino, it's also Ethiopian. And so there's just a whole mixture of people.
And also age range too.
Yeah, and the age range too. And so, and it's a young group of people, and so they'll make you and I dinosaurs. They're so young, but they're good. And so we're excited about what we're doing, and we hope you'll come. I want to also just spend a couple of minutes in what time we have remaining, that there's some things going on that we should be mindful of. One of the most important ones is that budget has come out from the mayor. We talked about this yesterday morning on Black Men and Women United. There are some significant cuts in the budget, and those cuts concern things that we are concerned about. Dr. Thompson, you had mentioned some of them yesterday in terms of the cuts that were there. And I also yesterday saw a letter from the president of the Library Foundation, and it was very interesting because the mayor in his address talked about preserving parks and recreation and libraries in terms of not having them cut. But yet the letter that was written by the foundation, Library Foundation, criticized the city and the mayor for not putting the dollars there to improve the physical structures, the resources and things that are on back order for the libraries, and how the libraries are really decaying and falling apart. So it's one thing to say we're not cutting, but it's another thing for the people to say, no, you're not cutting, but you're not helping either based on what you committed to do, and that is not being done.
Yeah.
And so that's why we need to pay attention and get involved in terms of this budget cycle.
Yeah, one of the things about it is that, some of the list of things that people are concerned about, it appears that the San Diego Access for All is receiving some form of cut. There's a whole campaign on cannabis, social equity that seems to be eliminated from the budget. The Office of Immigration Affairs is receiving cuts. Climate Equity Fund is receiving cuts. The CPPS funds are being cut. I heard that, and these are rumors, that all the discretionary funds that were going to the different council districts
Yes.
have been cut. The Community Equity Fund has been cut. The Teen Dropout Center, or Drop-In Center, is receiving cuts, and also No Shots Fired are some of the things that are being really impacted by the budget cuts. And again, the thing is, and I want to be very candid with everybody, these are all proposed cuts. These are all proposed cuts. We need to be able to read the budget, pay attention to the budget, and then make our voices heard before there's a final vote. Again, these are proposed. But, a squeaky wheel never, if you're a squeaky wheel, eventually somebody will oil you. But if you never squeak, if you never make any noise, then how do people even know that this is important to you? So when these things come up and no one says anything, then they go forth with their plan. But if there's something after you read the budget, and the budget is like the Bible, it has got so many pages and
1,500 pages to it.
1,500 pages. And you have to be a prayer warrior to read through some of that, because some stuff you ain't going to understand. But if you get into the right meetings and get with the right people, they will break it down page by page, and you will find your space that you have to speak on. And you might say, I'm perfectly happy with it. And then some of you guys might say, no, there's some things that we need to rally against, speak against before the vote comes down.
Well, I shared yesterday, and I continue to share editorially this week, that we have the Independent Budget Officer, the IBA, and they're there as the budget analyst and information piece for the members of the city council. Because when we were under the city manager, weak mayor form of government, the council didn't have anyone to give them research to offset what the manager was bringing from his team. So this is an independent team, and it's an important team. And so there are different budgets. There's the operating budget and the capital improvements budget. Capital improvements is dealing with the streets, the pipes, the potholes, and infrastructure. And the dollars in that are different. And many cities historically have sought to balance their operating budget, which contains the personnel, the raises that have been given. They were all identified in the announcement that the mayor gave. Some go into effect in July of this year. There are other raises that go into effect for employees and the police department and all in January of 2025. And all of these things have raised the budget by over $473 million. At the same time, there's got to be some adjustments made because by law they have to have a balanced budget by the time they act in June. So there are going to be hearings and discussion. I'm sharing with you that not only must you have an opinion, but if you're not registered, you need to make sure that you become a registered voter, and then when you speak up, if it's in a city council hearing or a community meeting, you let the people know when you get ready to speak that you are a registered voter, because those are the only people that they're going to respect, number one. Number two, is going to take 5 council members to make any changes or adoption of the budget. So you can't just call Henry Foster, since he's the 4th district, and say, well, I told Henry, so I've done my part. Henry, which I'm sure he knows by now, is going to need 4 other people if he wants to change anything in that budget. It takes 5 of the 9 for the majority. So that means you need to be involved in other districts. What are their priorities? Are there things that you all can do trade-offs on in terms of concern? Because it just can't be give me mine and I don't care about yours. It's got to be a joint effort. And so we're going to be setting up a couple of meetings between Black Men United and Voicing Viewpoint, because we've had the independent budget analysts come into our meetings before, and we're going to establish a meeting and have them come to talk about the budget. But if you have particular areas that, number one, you don't want to see cut, then send us an email so we can start building a list of those things. But at the same time, look at the budget and suggest where we might get the money from in terms of other areas to keep what you want.
Yeah, I think, Dr. Warren, that is the biggest thing. We must be solution oriented. It is very easy to complain and tell everyone what is wrong and what should happen. And we can always keep on squeezing the turnip, saying that we need more blood from the turnip. But eventually we have to realize that the turnip is not going to give any more blood. So we're going to have to make some hard decisions on where we spend money and what is valuable to our communities. And yes, Dr. Warren, there will be some give and takes. And with the give and takes, the biggest thing that we have to do is we have to make sure that we come out on the winning end. We might not get everything that we want, but we want to get more than we want than what we lose.
Well, the Voicing Viewpoint is going to publicize the forums as we find out about them. And you got to read and go and be involved. It's too late after the fact to get all worked up after it's done. You need to be on the front end of this and be proactive in terms of it. And I keep saying this because I shared before that in the last budget cycle, I believe it was, that there were budget meetings in communities, as there always are. Over 20 years ago, I pushed the city before the internet to make a copy of the budget available in every library, because at one point that wasn't done, so that public would have access to those. The city is no longer spending all that money in paper to print the budget now, but the budget is online, and you can download it. So, it take you probably 3 rounds of paper if you want to download the whole thing, or you can go in and read it online and download the areas that you are concerned about or the areas that you think should be cut in other areas of the budget to give the money that you need to restore what you want. But it's got to be that kind of a joint effort, folks. And we're going to have to dig in and get involved and pay attention. There's no way of getting around that.
Yes. And so I would just tell you that if you are looking at the proposed budget, I will go ahead and put that link up for you. I'm on there right now. just trying to make sure that we have everything that we can get out to you. So let me try to get that done, and so that we can put it up there. Again, it's time for us to get involved. It's time for us to be a part of something that is going to have a great impact. But for you, you can click there, and that should take you to the finance proposals for the fiscal year 25 proposed budget. It breaks it down in volumes, as well as it gives you an interactive space to look at it. Well, Dr. Warren, believe it or not, we are at the end of the show.
We are, and we are looking forward to seeing as many of you tomorrow as possible. And we will be doing reminders all day in e-blast to get people out.
Yes, yes, yes. So this is from the desk of the editor with Dr. John Warren. God say the same. We pray to see you all next week, and more than anything, we pray that we can see you all on tomorrow night. I
Yes.
think that it's going to be a wonderful time. Come out, be ready to learn, to be get involved, and be a part of the solution, and not just talk about it. Let's be about it. This is from the desk of the editor, right here on GODradio1.com. You'll be blessed.